Hi everyone, welcome to Module 9. In this module, we will discuss preventative measures for managing classroom behavior for you and your students. So I wanted to start out and just talk a little bit about your mid-semester feedback before we go into our review. And then after that, we'll talk about ways to manage the classroom and then also managing behavior. And then finally, we'll have our wrap up before spring break. So thank you so much to those of you who gave feedback on the mid-semester evaluations. I'm assuming there may be a couple more people who haven't submitted feedback, but I wanted to go ahead and get our lecture recorded for this week. So several of you said that you are learning a lot, that you really like the course structure and the organization of the course. A couple of people mentioned that you like the videos and some of the activities that have been embedded in our lectures or in the modules. And a couple people said you appreciated my timely grading. Someone else said that the grading is not so timely. So please just know that I am trying. I will just put this out here. I think I said it in one of the other lectures. March is one of the busiest months for me with conference travels and with grant proposals. And so I tend to just not be quite as quick and efficient as I typically am. Please just bear with me during this month. I will do my best to get caught up on grading and to stay on top of things. If there is something that you need a grade on that is prohibiting you from completing a next assignment, just send me a quick email and say, hey, Dr. P, I see that I still don't have a grade on this. Could you please give me some feedback? And again, typically that's not my norm. I try to get feedback as soon as possible, but things do get a little hectic, as you all know as well. Other people said that the assignments and expectations are clear. So I'm glad there was lots of really positive feedback. And the biggest one, I think, is that many of you said you were learning a lot. And that's what is most exciting for me because that's ultimately the goal of our course. There were a few things that you all suggested in terms of recommendations or things that needed work. A couple people, maybe only one person, one or two people said that the lectures are too long. So the thing about that is you can adapt that for yourself. So if you feel like the lectures are too long, if you're watching them on QuickTime, there's a tool that you can select to speed it up. That way you still get the content, but you don't have to listen to it as long. So you could literally cut the time in half. I'm a little hesitant to trim the lectures too much because a lot of people said they appreciate the length of the videos. And so I think that a happy medium in that regard is that you have the ability to speed up the lecture, you have the ability to skip the lecture. So I think it would be a disservice to make them shorter for people who do value the amount of time and the amount of material. But if you feel like you don't need to listen to everything, you don't have to. So just know that that's an option. It's not, obviously, it's not required. And there are ways that you can kind of skip parts of the lecture or speed it up. A couple people are not that excited about the immersion experience. This is my first time using immersion with graduate students, and so it's kind of a pilot semester. So we'll see how the second activity goes now that you've used it at least once. And I'll think about it for the future, given the feedback that you've provided, whether or not it makes sense to use it with graduate level students. So I appreciate your feedback on that. And then one person gave a really great suggestion, which I appreciated, about having weekly reminders or emails for you all. I've tried to organize the course really well and have it structured so that you know what's coming, but I agree that it might be helpful just to have a quick reminder at the beginning of every week that, so you know what's coming up, what's due during this module, etc. So moving forward, based on the feedback that you all have given me, these are some of the changes that I'm going to make to the course. One will be to do the weekly reminders. Two, another person recommended, and I've actually had the same request in the past, so I think I'm going to give it a shot this semester, opening up 2 modules at a time so that you can work ahead if you'd like to. Now, I noticed that many of you don't even get to your weekly reflections until Sunday anyway, so I'm guessing that some of you will only be able to work on one module at a time. However, for those of you that do have more flexibility and you're able to work ahead, I think it might be a good option to have this at least 2 weeks posted at a time. So I'm going to work on starting that that model after spring break. We'll start working on having 2 at a time. And then finally, one other person mentioned how well they liked having opportunities to engage with each other in discussion groups or even like online posts. Now, I will say with this, last semester or last year when I taught this class, I actually had optional Q&A sessions where I set aside time for students to join me on like Google Hangout or Zoom to talk about any questions they had about assignments or how things were going in their class, in their placements. And I think I did that 3 different times, and across those 3 different times, I literally had maybe three or four students join. So I chose not to do that this semester. If you all feel like that's something that you could benefit from, especially as we move into the second half of the course, if you'll just shoot me a quick email and say, hey, Dr. P, I'd love an opportunity to have a Q&A, and I will organize that. In the meantime, however, I will plan to kind of shift some of your remaining reflections. I'm going to design those so that they are actually discussion board posts instead of reflections. And the point allocation will be the same. They will still count as a reflection, but they will be in the form of a discussion board so that you can have more of an engaging conversation. And I think that was a really great recommendation. So thank you to those of you who gave feedback and suggestions. I really do appreciate your feedback. I take it to heart and I try to make the changes because I want this to be the best learning environment for all of you. Okay.